Good morning, good morning. It is Monday, the 17th of June, 2029. Welcome to Morning Brew on Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. And we've had another weekend of, and not much actually. Where's Rishi Sunak? I don't know where he is. I think he went to a G7 summit and never came home. But they're not taking up all the bandwidth. They're not taking up all the oxygen of this particular election, are they? It's Reform that are doing that. And we're going to have to get into this because, I've got a feeling that we're never ever going to forgive the people of Clacton, because if they elect Nigel Farage as their MP, we're going to see his ugly, disgusting bollock face on the news every day for the next 5 years. Just like if they vote Trump in again, we'll have to see his gormless, disgusting orange face on the news every day for the next 4 years as well. Anyway, but before we get into that, I'm going to say hello to everyone. Hello to Benjamin. Hello to City Life 2050 and Tim Ballon and to Prendo147. Obviously a snooker player. We've got Frank, Captain Bart Roberts, we've got Anthony, we've got Johnny, we've got Viv and Simon and Jane and Siskin Edge, Gillian, Helen, Dave and Reagan Elite. Hello. And Lee Corn is in there. Hello, how you doing? 2029, how was the first Labour government? Says Admiral Pegasus. 2029. Did I say 2029? Did I? Oh. Hey, it's early. It's Monday. It is the 17th of June, 2024. And I'm a time traveler from the future. God, Graham, I've just had my brekkie, says Viv Burgess. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. But look, let's talk about bots, okay? In the Brexit referendum, the Leave campaigns, multiple campaigns, so that was Vote Leave, Leave.eu, and Believe, and a few others, use social media to devastating effect. They worked with a company called Cambridge Analytica, which illegally took data from Facebook users to see what kind of person they were and build a personality profile for them. Once the personality profile was built, they would send them targeted ads to vote for Leave with things that would chime with that person. So, for instance, if they had liked a lot of posts about kittens and seemed to really like animals, they would send them a picture of someone being mean to an animal or a fluffy animal, and it would say, the EU is going to kill all these animals. The EU is going to stop us prosecuting people who are mean to animals. If someone liked or posted a lot about climate change, they might get a picture of a polar bear on a block of ice in the sea saying that the EU is trying to kill all the polar bears. If they simply posted on their Facebook account, oh, I'm looking forward to a nice hot cup of tea, they will be presented with an advert saying that the EU is trying to take away your cup of tea. Learn more by clicking on this link, which took you to one of the Leave campaign's websites, one of the many, many campaigns. That was all open. Like, we know about it. We knew that was happening at the time. And I'm sorry to say, the Electoral Commission, which is absolutely effing useless, has done absolutely nothing at all to counter this. So now we've come into the 2024 election. It's 8 years later. And bot farms are legal. Okay, got to understand that. They go against the terms of service of the various channels, platforms. But it's not to say they're illegal. And they're not regulated by the Electoral Commission. I've put a couple of links in under the video here. One of them goes to an ITV article. And in that article, it says The Electoral Commission, which oversees UK elections, told us there is nothing specific in electoral law regarding the use of social media accounts, whether fake or genuine. So here's the question I have for you all. If you, as a startup party like Reform, are you going to spend thousands of pounds, maybe tens of thousands of pounds, printing leaflets, corralling volunteers to go to every constituency in the land and post stuff through letterboxes? Or are you going to spend a few £100 on bots, which will get to more people with the usual bot nonsense of I'm voting Reform, Reform are great, and mixed in with AI now, you can have a conversation with someone who's not real because it's all set up to an AI generator. We can do this. In fact, we're going to do this as a program in going up against the disinformation that's out there. It's not illegal. It's perfectly within the remit of anyone who wants to do it, by the looks of things. And the fact that there's no one fighting against this, putting out bots themselves to say Reform are a cancer on this country, then, I think someone should. That's all I'm saying. I think someone should. And I happen to know some people who can. So might be making more of that over the next week. So watch this space. Ivan, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. That is really kind of you. £20 super chat. First thing on a Monday morning. That's nice. Thank you. I have a friend who lives in Clacton. She can't stand the Tories, and I keep encouraging her to vote Labour. But she says all the parties are the same, except the monster raving loony party. What more can I do? Yeah, Ivan, I'm sorry. Thanks for the super chat, mate. That's really kind. But lots of people are like this because that's what they've been told by the mainstream media. This is the shit that the mainstream media pumps out all the time, especially the newspapers. They don't care about facts or truth or whatever. They just want to push their own party that they support. Nearly all the newspapers massively support the Tories. In a way that's just completely unfair on the other parties. Like, absolutely. It couldn't be more unfair if they possibly tried. And this refrain of they're all the same it's maddening, because you hear people on the left saying it and you're like, why are you parroting right-wing talking points? Because the Tories have got nothing. They've got nothing to offer. They can't even say Labour are bad, because they'll say oxymorons like they haven't got a plan, and then 5 seconds later they'll say their plan is to tax people more. It's like, well, do they have a plan or don't they have a plan? I love the cognitive dissonance going on here, guys. That's awesome. But yeah, that line of they're all the same, it's not true. It is absolutely demonstrably not true. Dozens of Tory MPs are under investigation or were under investigation for different kinds of impropriety, whether it was fraud, whether it was sexual abuse. Compare with the other parties where they had like a handful all put together. You think about all the massive amount of not just fraud, but like lobbying that goes on in the Tory party. You think about Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, who has hundreds of millions of pounds worth of shares. It's getting into the realms of funny money where you can't really envision that amount of money. Hundreds of millions of pounds worth of shares in Infosys. And his government is given government contracts to Infosys, not to a British company. No. Why would we do that? Why would we want to help our own country? No. We need to help shareholders in other countries. Those same shareholders who own shares in our transport networks, our railways, our waterways, our electricity grid, our energy providers. Yeah, those people, they deserve money for all their hard work. Our money specifically. We need to work every day and then give them all our money. That's what we need to do for some reason. Anyway, I'm just going to jump into the chat now. Look at it this way. At least for this election, Reform won't be able to target seats in a meaningful way. but legislation needs to be introduced before the next election. Absolutely, it does. This is absolutely disgraceful that this is allowed to go on. And there are ways to stop it. Like, there are definite ways to stop it. To say, if you have people doing bots for you, for your party, then you are going to pay the fines for that. So then it's up to the parties to stop the bots. There's rumours Murdoch might swap his support to Labour for this election. I think that the Sultan newspaper is going to not back Labour in the way that they backed them in 1997. You see, the thing is, the Sun, Murdoch, likes to back a winner. So if he sees that there's no chance the Tories winning, then it's very likely that they'll flip. But I don't think they're going to be as warmly congratulating Labour on winning this election or really pushing for them. I think they're just going to kind of stay quiet on it in general. I'd be very surprised on July the 4th if the front cover of the Sun is saying essentially vote Labour. I'll also be surprised if it says vote Conservative. It might say vote for reform. Because of what I'm going to come to. I mean, you might think I'm being a bit conspiratorial, but I've got a theory about this and I'm going to share it with you and see what you think, and you can give me some feedback on it and just tell me if I'm just being completely nuts. Captain Bart Roberts, thank you very much. Apparently, about 40 of the refoot candidates are the literal Frostbook friends with the factual leader of the National Front. Yep, the original NF. No fun. Yeah. Nazis forever. Yeah. I'll come on to this in a moment, but first of all, I'm going to have a look at those papers that I just mentioned. We've got Pledge to Forgotten Britain, Just the Job. This is a pro-Labour paper, the Mirror. That's the one pro-Labour piece that I could find in the papers this morning. Let's have a look at what else is on here. We've got The Independent with Penny Mordaunt, urges party to rally, but admits Tories are the underdogs, which is kind of like a neutral take on it. The Euros win. England win at Euros marred by fan violence. Great. British people going abroad and getting into fights. I don't care who started it. It's disgraceful and embarrassing. I wish people would learn that when they leave this country, they become an ambassador for this country, and I wish they would behave accordingly. Thank you very much to Anthony Fisher for the super chat there. Get Rishi in front or sign Stop the Bots. That's very good. Stop the bots. Should we stop the bots with more bots? Oh, sorry. I was going to say, people might go, oh, well, hang on, Graham, with your find the parties if bots are pushing for them. There'll be a way around it, because obviously if you were a bad actor, you would create a bot farm saying vote Labour so they get fined. You'd have to find ways around that. But one of the big ways of sorting it out will be to tackle the big social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, and X, Facebook, what's it called? Facebook, that's the one. And yeah, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. PM, Labour will run riot with your money. That's a front cover of the Express, the Times, the Murdoch rag saying go for the jugular. Sunak urged. Daily Star's got a thing about people taking a day off work because of the football. Okay. Here's the Daily Telegraph, which is so far up the Tories are so they can see the future. Labour net zero plans 4.5 tax black hole, which is bullshit. And then the Daily Mail following that up with has Labour let the cat out the bag. The Guardian, which thinks of itself as a left-wing newspaper, but it is very authoritarian, run by people who went to private school who want to maintain the status quo beyond anything else. As you will notice if you read The Guardian a lot. I mean, they have some good articles and they do point out some things that are wrong with the country, but they like the way the country is right now. It suits them, and you need to understand that when they're having a pop at Labour and Starmer. The Guardian seems to have fallen in love with the Starmer and the Labour manifesto in the last couple of days. Thanks for what you do. Helps keep me sane. Thank you very much, Andy H. Yeah. So thanks for the super chat. I'm just saying the absolute opposite of that, because now they're calling on the abominable 2-child benefits limit, which is both immoral and doesn't make any economic sense at all, because people aren't having children, and so there's going to be no workforce in the future except people who come from other countries to here, which upsets the old people who need who need younger people to come from the country, so there's going to be no one to look after them or pay their pension. You know, you don't save up for your pension, really, not a private pension. Your pension now today is being paid by the people who are working now, like your your parents' pensions or your grandparents' pensions were paid by the people who were working then, which might have included you if you were in that cohort. Tim Ballum, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. GB News, poll of the day. Are refuck the new opposition in Britain? Vote now. It's asking me to sign up and pay the money so I can take part. Please don't. Please just don't. People are concerned about more than tax. Yeah. And the reality is the tax is going to come off the highest earners, the people who are not paying as much tax as they should. The companies that are not paying as much tax as they should. The oil industry that's not paying as much tax as it should. Labour accused of watering down housing reform pledges. And this is criticised for rowing back on reforms to protect renters and boost home and ownership. I'll make it quite clear. Section 21, which is no fault evictions, are being gotten rid of by the Labour Party on day one. That is one of their first things they are going to do. They're going to get rid of no fault evictions. The Tories basically said they were going to do this and then didn't, because they were a bunch of liars and landlords. Reeves pledges to tear down EU trade barriers in reset for relations. Bit of good news there. And I'm battered and bruised but still alive. This is a story about Gordon Ramsay wearing a helmet when he's cycling, and it saved his life. And if he hadn't been wearing it, he wouldn't be with us now. Anyway, so Captain Bob Roberts, I was catching up with some older posts. I missed them over the last few weeks. Bots all over them. Takes a bit of time to keep reporting them. And come on, Graham, you can't expect people to do joined up thinking like that. Life is upside down, says Leanne Scott. Tim, that's max of confirmation bias. That's Tim Balance. GB News poll there. Gary's economics is very pessimistic about a Labour government, says Gary Arnold. I guess I get that. I understand. And we talked about it on this channel loads. Labour's got to toe the line just to get over the line, to get into power. They've got to make sure that they don't scare people into voting Conservative to stop them getting in, which is what happened in 2019. They can't fall into that same trap again. And they have said they'll rather under-promise and over-deliver than over-promise and under-deliver. So, you've got two things there. Lee Corn, Labour needs to explain clearly who will pay extra tax because the Tories are running riot with this £2,000 tax bill for everyone line. Yes, I do think that they need to step their stall out, but also the Tories shouldn't be allowed to get away with that. Anyway, let's get back to bots, okay? So we've got Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. We've got problems on all three, particularly on Twitter now. So let's have a look at what Twitter's done since Elon Musk's taken over. This is a guy who said he was going to get rid of all the bots. Do you remember he didn't want to pay the $44 billion because he said it was full of bots and he was going to get rid of bots? That was his thing. He went on about the bots all the time. Now there's more bots than ever on Twitter. And he's reinstated bot accounts and old accounts. Like anyone who's been kicked off Twitter for being racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, he's put them back on. They've appealed. They've been, yeah, it's all right, mate. You can come back on now. That's fine. That saves no one to make a new account. Woohoo. You can buy TikTok followers by the thousands for about £15 for 1,000 followers on TikTok. And then you got Facebook, where you can pop into all kinds of groups and put in whatever you like. So if you were so minded, you could go to all of the local groups. So in each town or village in the UK, there's usually a Facebook group. You can target the ones that are in the constituency that you want your refuck candidate to win in. And then you can basically spam that group with messages saying vote for refuck. And there's nothing that will be done about it. Then you've got Instagram, which is even more dodgy now than Facebook in terms of being able to create fake accounts, bots, use AI to respond to people, AI bots that have conversations. Hey, sexy, I'm thinking of voting refuck. What about you? You look like a clever person. I'm thinking of voting for the Conservative Party. How about you? Ivan, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. Another super chat from Ivan. Thank you so much, my friend. You're very, very, very kind. On LBC earlier, there was discussion about how much door knocking is going on and how much leaflets are being put through people's doors. Why is there a rule that you can't mention your constituency and most recent MP? I don't think there is a rule that you can't mention your constituency. I don't think that's. I don't know about the recent MP, but there's certainly not a rule that you can't mention your constituency. I think you have to mention your constituency, don't you? And also, it's got to have an imprint. Okay, so any election material, physical printed material, has to have an imprint on. That is the name and address of the person who paid for the material, their address, their home address, posted out to thousands of people, who one of whom might be a nutter. But there you go, home address where you live with your kids, home address that goes out to everyone, and the address of the printers who printed the leaflets, who printed the material. That has to be put on all of them before it gets put through someone's door, so everyone knows who paid for it and where it was printed and where it was made. That doesn't happen with memes. Doesn't happen with bots. And the Electoral Commission says, well, there's no electoral law to do anything about this. One big thing that Labour need to tighten up on, again, they are going to be looking at electoral law. There was a fantastic video this morning by Stella Creasy talking about what she wants to do in terms of PR, reforming the House of Lords, bringing in citizens' assemblies, doing it properly so that everyone gets a say, more devolution, so it's not just top-down Westminster dictating to everyone. Westminster, sorry. I've done door knocking, Stephanie. There's no rule that you cannot mention the constituency, the MP, or anything about them. Yeah, I've done door knocking. I mean, I don't need to slag off the last MP because the last MP is going to be the next MP, Mary Foy in my area. But yeah, it's yeah. I've got to say as well, my MP, Mary Foy, she's not door knocking as much as she would like to be because she's actually undergoing treatment for cancer. During this election campaign, and she's an absolute trooper. She manages to get out on days where she can get out, but days where she's having chemotherapy, she's having to take a day off. And us in the Labour group here in Durham are going out on her behalf. But it doesn't half upset me that you've got these people, especially Tories, who are in their safe seats, who won't bother going out and campaigning. Who was it who was going on holiday and they weren't going to cancel their holiday when the election was called? I don't want to say it was Johnny Mercer in case it wasn't, but it was a Tory MP who was like, I'm not cancelling my holiday. I'm going anyway. Oh, was it Jonathan Gullis or someone? It was the speedboat guy. It was the guy who wanted to go fast catamaran racing. It was that guy. Remember, he's like, what do you want to do? Oh, Steve Baker. That was it. Brexit hard man, self-described Brexit hard man. Steve Baker, he said that he's going on holiday and he's booked a holiday. He's going on his holiday. He's not going to be knocking on doors and trying to get people to vote for him. Yeah, and meanwhile, our MP here is going through hell fighting this horrific disease. And yeah, I'm so much respect, so much respect for my local MP here in Durham. And this is something that, before I get on to what I wanted to, like my grand unifying theory of bots, that sounds wrong. I just want to say, like, when we talk about Labour, it's not a monolith. Neither is the Tory party, neither are the Lib Dems. And you've got some really, really good people in Labour. And that's one of the reasons why I want them to win, because it's not just about getting the Tories out, although that's a huge part of it. But it's also getting decent people into Parliament, people who actually care, people who are in Parliament to make things better for their constituents, people who care about their local area, not just people who are there to feather their own nest, to make money, line their own pockets with taxpayers' money, which is what a lot of Tories go into politics for. Anyway, David, thank you very much. Have you heard of the Zinoviev letter? I don't know if you've spelt that right. Yes. So this was in I'm probably going to get the year wrong now. I think it was 100 years ago. I think it was exactly 100 years ago. In 1924, I think someone looked this up. And it was the Ramsay MacDonald government. I'm probably going to get everything wrong here, and I'm going to get corrected in the chat. This is off the top of my head. Essentially, a few weeks before the election of 1924, I think it was 1924, Labour had been in power in a sort of power sharing agreement for not very long. And there was a letter that was published in the Daily Mail, I believe. And it was apparently, it came from the Russia, these particular Russian communists who were going to make communism happen in the UK through the Labour Party. And it wasn't exposed as a fake until well after the election. And a lot of people, including the leader of Labour at the time, declared it absolutely pivotal in Labour's loss that year. Other things might have come factored into it as well, but it's usually used as something to show that things can be derailed in the last few days of an election. You don't know what's going to happen. Yes, 1924 fake letter. Says Viv, thank you very much. I was right. That doesn't happen very often. Right. Okay, so here you go. Just imagine, just for a moment, you are evil. Just imagine you are a multi-billion-dollar industry. Oil, gas, tobacco, firearms, maybe pharmaceuticals who are doing tests on homeless people when they shouldn't. Maybe you want to squeeze people for every last penny that they have, and you want to remove their rights to complain about that if you do so. So you sit down in 2010. The global financial credit crunch has just happened. Maybe you helped that happen. Maybe you were part of the hedge funds that pushed it, the bankers that sold these subprime mortgage packages to investors, knowing that they were likely to collapse, knowing that it was a bubble. Maybe you were part of that whole banking elite. And you are suddenly confronted with this idea that, with this reality that the Tories and I guess the Lib Dems at the time have won the election. What would you say to them if you had the power over them? You want to squeeze the little people. And you've seen that the credit crunch has driven people into the arms in this country of the right wing, of the Tory party, which in 1997 seemed to be dead, but now it was back. So you say to them, hey, I've got an idea. Instead of growing the economy, which is what's needed in this situation, why don't you throttle the economy and bring in something called austerity, which means that no one's got any money. And then no one's got any money, they're not spending anything, not buying anything except absolute essentials. And you're privatized all the essentials, so we'll get all that money. We'll get all of it. None of it goes to anyone else but us. So everyone's money that they spend goes on their water, on the electricity, on their gas, on their petrol for their car, on Amazon. Right? Just that's it. That's all you're going to spend your money on. And food, sorry, from the supermarket, Tesco. And then along comes the EU and it's saying, look, you can't do this. This is wrong. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that people aren't evading tax. What are you going to do? Well, here's what you're going to do. You are going to push people to leave the EU because it's in your benefit to do so as an evil billionaire. So push the Tory party to say, give them an in-out referendum, allow the UKIP party to exist and thrive, allow all this cheating to go on during the election, allow for Russian interference. Maybe the Russians are involved in this, I don't know. Then what's the next step after that? You pulled the UK out of the EU. We no longer have the protections that the EU used to offer us, our workers' rights, the overtime, maternity leave, paternity leave, all that kind of stuff that was enshrined in EU law is no longer enshrined in our law. They can get rid of it at any time they want. So then you move on to the next thing, don't you? Which is the European Court of Human Rights. Now, what's the best way of getting the people of the UK in such a tizzy that they do something as daft as they did in 2016 and vote to get rid of the European Court of Human Rights? Well, You foment instability in the Middle East and Africa through your proxies, through Iran, through Syria, through Libya, through the Wagner Group, and you create refugees. You create a machine for creating refugees. Refugees flood into Europe, quite rightly, because they need to get out of the war zone in which they live. And how are they treated? Disgustingly. Today there was a story, a stomach-churning story about the Greek Coast Guard murdering 40, that's the number I saw. It might be higher. Migrants, people, humans, human beings, people thrown off a boat. And there'll be people in this country cheering that. That's how far down the rabbit hole of sick, sadistic, mind twist, them and us, the right-wing media and the politicians have managed to infect our brains with. Or no, it's not everyone, but enough brains with. So it looks like the Tories have absolutely done a number on themselves. They're not going to win this election. Thanks very much to Ivan Ambrose for the £10 super chat, just to interrupt. It's an LBC rule. Thank God we can be open and transparent on this channel. My most recent MP in my constituency in Ipswich was Tory MP Tom Hunt. Careful how you say that. The most useless MP in living memory. Thank you so much for the super chats, Ivan. I really appreciate it. You've given 50 quid this morning. That is just phenomenal. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone else who's given the super chats. And thanks to everyone else who's just involved in the chat. I really do appreciate having this a bit of two-way banter. I'll finish off my tale, and then I just want you to point me in the right direction and say if I'm going mad or not. So then the Tories look like they're going to lose this election. What do you do? What can you think? You've got to get us out of the European Convention of Human Rights and get us out of the European Court of Human Rights. How can you go about that with a Labour government? Well, you're not going to, are you? The Tories are done for. So do you know what would be a smart move right now? To back Nigel Farage, the guy who foisted Brexit more than anyone else, foisted Brexit on this country, the guy who absolutely effed our economy up the wrong un. And now he's popular again. Oh, he's come back. He's back to save Britain, save the country that he ruined. And he's being supported massively. Not by you or me, sorry, I hit the mic there, but by someone with lots and lots of money. The billionaires, I guess. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this week, when we've got all these refuck candidates across the country, hundreds of them, many of whom probably are Nazis, probably sex pests, maybe some pedos in there, we can't find out what they liked on Twitter over the last 15 odd years, because Elon Musk, the so-called richest man on earth, now and again, occasionally, it's not really his money, but whatever. We're not going into that right now. Elon Musk takes away the ability for you to see what these people have liked. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I mean, I might be just saying this is a conspiracy when it was just incompetence, but the timing to me just seems absolutely abhorrent, right? It looks a bit sus. And you might say, great, why would Elon Musk give a toss about the UK? This is a man who gave an interview for the BBC once, had never heard of the BBC, and spent the whole of the interview stoned off his flappy man tits, laughing about the fact that it was called the BBC. Anyway, I get that, and I understand that in the greater scheme of things, are we that big a deal? No. But what we are, and what we were in 2016, was a Petri dish, or a Petri dish. I don't know how you pronounce that. You can tell me in the chat. For what happened in America that November. Exactly the same setup. Why would Rishi Sunak go for an election, call an election in the rain, not allow his party to prepare for the election? They were not prepared for it. They didn't have all their candidates in place when he called the election. MPs were stunned that we were going for an election. He stood there in the rain calling for an election. It's almost as if someone had said to the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, hey, Rishi, could you do us a favour? Can you call your election a little bit before the presidential election? Because we've got something that we want to try out. AI plus bots. This is what the AI revolution was for. This is why Elon Musk gave money to ChatGPT when it got started. I talk about these people being idiots, but some of them, they are idiots, but they're surrounded by, I guess, people who are know what they're doing, and can make their evil competent in some way. But this is really concerning because bots used to be really, really, really easy to spot a mile away. They're getting more and more sophisticated by the day, by the hour, by the minute, by the second. And soon you are not going to be able to tell whether the person you are conversing with on Twitter or Facebook or watching the videos of on TikTok are actually real or a bot created by nefarious billionaires in other countries who are sadists who just want you to suffer because it's not enough for them to be rich. They need everyone else to be grindingly poor. It's the only thing that gets them off. Anyway, that's my theory. Let me know what you think in the chat. I know I've gone over time. Tim, thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. David Bull, Reform, tells Kay Burley that OBR have definitely looked at Reform's contract. Myra Ora, the OBR does not scrutinise opposition manifestos, as that would require a change in the law. It's very interesting. Phil has just posted about his health. Yeah, I was going to say Phil's not going to be with us tomorrow morning for Morning Brew. He's I don't know how much he said on his message that he's put up, but yeah, he's not well at the moment. He's undergoing treatment, and it might be a few days before he's back on track. So yeah, we're wishing him all the very, very best, and hopefully, you know. I know Phil, and I know he's going to be raging about this because, like, this is election. This is the election that we've all been waiting for, and he's not going to be able to post any content for a few days. But you know, his health has to come first. So I'll be doing Morning Brew tomorrow. I'll probably be doing it on Thursday as well, and that's fine. And yeah, if you go over to Phil's channel and wish him well, wish him the best of health and everything, that'd be really, really appreciated. And yeah, if you want to pass on a message, if you want to put a message here, I'll pass it on. Sarah, get well soon, Phil. Yeah, I think you're spot on, Graham. Good to have you on our side. So that's Jane agreeing with me. It does look a bit sus, doesn't it? Aid Thompson will argue with me. He'll say, "Oh, Graham, you're just being conspiratorial," and you go on about how much you hate conspiracy theories, and I'm like, I know. But it's all a bit too coinky dinky. Like, should we just test this, see if it works? And I think that the AI bots in the American election in November are going to be absolutely insane, based on what we've seen now with refuck in this country. Gosh, hopefully he's on the mend. He's on medication now, but it'll take a few days for it to actually kick in. And then it's as soon as he feels better, as soon as he feels that he's up for it, but he's having trouble at the moment getting his work done. Damn it, Phil, stop being ill. Get better soon. Phil needs to rest and calm down. He needs to concentrate on getting better so we can rely on him being well for the final blast. Yeah, absolutely, Stephanie. And I don't want to push him into doing more stuff when he does so much. I mean, last week he was pumping out like 4 or 5 videos a day. I was like, oh my God, if I do live videos, maybe I could do that many, but pre-records, because he writes them all out, he scripts them all. He's reading from a script. Like, I don't know how he does it. I'm very, very, very impressed with Phil's ability to do that. You know, when you've got someone who you work with who's got like mad skills, and you're like, how do you do that? How can you be so disciplined? Whereas me and Super Tansky are kind of like, a bit up in the air about stuff. Just when inspiration strikes, like, okay, I'll do a video on that. Ivan, thank you very much. We need to all step up while Phil is unwell. Thank you very much for the super chat there, Ivan. And you're absolutely right. I hope he's back on form soon. I'm not going to lie, I've been worrying about him last week or so. Get well, Phil. Yeah. Thanks for all the good work, Graham. Oh, thank you, Frank. That's very kind. Phil needs a holiday after the election. I think we all need a holiday after the election, but yeah, I'll make sure that Phil takes some time off. I've offered to do videos for him on his channel, but I think because my style's very different, I might just put off a lot of his viewers. A lot of people hitting the unsubscribe button. Who's this ginger prick? But yeah, he should be fine. He should be fine. He's been diagnosed. They know what it is, and he's having medication for it. So there you go. But sometimes it's worth to look a bit harder at some conspiracy theories. Some turn out to be true. Iran stroke Contra. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, in the absence of evidence, you tend to sort of, something is going to fill the vacuum, isn't it? And it just seems a bit odd that all of these bots are happening now. They're all for reform. There doesn't seem to be any Tory bots. Why would they bother? There doesn't seem to be any Labour bots, but maybe there should be. Fight fire with fire. The Electoral Commission's cool with it. And everyone's saying, "Get well soon, Phil." Yeah, I'll pass on your goodwill over to him, and I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30, unless there's a debate or something that I need to do, a watch party tonight. I don't think there is, but there might be. I don't know. But if there isn't, I'll be back at 9:30 tomorrow morning with another morning brew when it's going to be 16 days to the election, to Starmageddon. Can't wait. All right, so thanks very much for watching. Thanks for the super chats, obviously, and thanks for all of the thanks for all the lovely messages for Phil there. And until next time, I'll say give us a like on the way out, and hello, good evening, welcome.